Hi everyone, in this video we will summarise Macbeth, Act 3, Scenes 1 to 6. If this series on Macbeth has helped with your revision, please subscribe and hit the like button. Done? Great. At the beginning of Act 3, Banquo is pacing around in the royal palace. He can't help think about the prophecies of the witches and the possibility of his sons becoming kings. Banquo begins to feel the stirring of ambition before his thoughts are interrupted as Macbeth enters, attired as king.
I'm the king of the world!
He is followed by Lady Macbeth, now his queen, and the court. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth ask Banquo to attend the feast they will host that night.
Screw the game, we're talking about food.
Banquo accepts their invitation and says that he plans to go for a ride on his horse for the afternoon. Macbeth mentions that they should discuss the problem of Malcolm and Donalbain. The brothers have fled Scotland and may be plotting against Macbeth's crown.
Houston, we have a problem.
Banquo departs and Macbeth dismisses his court. He is left alone in the hall with a single servant, to whom he speaks about some men who have come to see him. Macbeth asks if the men are still waiting and orders that they be fetched. Once the servant is gone, Macbeth begins a soliloquy. He muses on the subject of Banquo, reflecting that his old friend is the only man in Scotland who he fears.
And I'm actually truly scared.
He notes that if the witch's prophecy is true, his crown is a fruitless crown, by which he means that he will not have a blood heir to the throne, as Macbeth does not have children.
What's the point? There's literally no point.
Macbeth is then visited by two murderers, who Banquo has wronged in the past. He asks if they are angry and manly enough to take revenge on Banquo. They reply that they are, and Macbeth accepts their promise. They will murder his former friend. Macbeth reminds the murderers that Fleance must be killed along with his father and tells them to wait within the castle for his command. Elsewhere in the castle, Lady Macbeth expresses despair and sends a servant to fetch her husband. Macbeth enters and tells his wife that he is too discontented, saying that his mind is full of scorpions. He feels that the business that they began by killing Duncan is not yet complete, because there are still threats to the throne that must be eliminated. Macbeth tells his wife to be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. Meaning, he has now started to plan horrible crimes without Lady Macbeth.
Leave me alone, you idiot!
Meanwhile, the two murderers, now joined by a third, linger in a wooded park outside the palace. Banquo and Fleance approach on their horses and quickly dismount. They light a torch and the murderers set upon them. The murderers kill Banquo, who dies, urging his son to flee and to avenge his death.
Avenge me, brother! Brother, avenge me!
In the darkness, Fleance escapes. The murderers leave with Banquo's body to find Macbeth and tell him what happened. On stage stands a table heaped with a feast. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth enter as king and queen, followed by their court, whom they bid welcome. As Macbeth walks among the company, the first murderer appears at the doorway. Macbeth speaks to him for a moment, learning that Banquo is dead, but that Fleance has escaped.
Escaped?
The news of Fleance's escape angers Macbeth. If only Fleance had died, he muses, his throne would have been secure. Returning to his guests, Macbeth goes to sit at the head of the royal table, but finds Banquo's ghost sitting in his chair. Horror-struck, Macbeth speaks to the ghost, which is invisible to the rest of the company. Lady Macbeth makes excuses for her husband, saying that he occasionally has such visions and that the guests should simply ignore his behaviour.
Ignore it.
Then she speaks to Macbeth, questioning his manhood and urging him to snap out of his trance.
Stop it.
Macbeth mutters that blood will have blood and tells Lady Macbeth that he has heard from a servant spy that Macduff intends to keep away from court, behaviour that verges on treason. He says that he will visit the witches again tomorrow in the hopes of learning more about the future and who may be plotting against him. Macbeth will do anything necessary to keep his throne.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Upon the stormy heath, the witches meet with Hecate, the goddess of witchcraft. Hecate scolds them for melding in the business of Macbeth without consulting her, but declares that she will take over as supervisor of the mischief. She says that when Macbeth comes the next day, as they know he will, they must summon visions and spirits whose messages will fill him with a false sense of security and draw him into the confusion. That night, somewhere in Scotland, Lennox walks with another lord discussing what has happened. Banquo's murder has been officially blamed on Fleance, who has fled. Nevertheless, both men suspect Macbeth, whom they call a tyrant, in the murders of Duncan and Banquo. The Lord tells Lennox that Macduff has gone to England, where he will join Malcolm in pleading with England's King Edward for aid. News of these plots has prompted Macbeth to prepare for war.
You're up, soldier.
Lennox and the Lord express their hope that Malcolm and Macduff will be successful and that their actions can save Scotland from Macbeth. If you want to revise some key quotes from Act 3, pause the video here. Thanks for watching. Until next time.